Have you ever met an academic, a scientist, a professional who became convinced that the world didn't evolve, that it was created and yet wasn't a Christian? Well, tonight I've got the privilege of introducing Dr Ron Neller. G'day, Ron.
Good evening, John.
And introducing myself, I'm John Mackay, the creation guy, and we've got Ron tonight in the hot seat to ask some pretty provocative and challenging questions, don't you think, Ron?
Sounds good. I'm happy.
Okay, let me start. Tell us what your academic background is.
Originally I did a bachelor's degree, and I actually focused, it was a Bachelor of Arts, but it was very heavily focused on the geologic side of things, because geology can be done within an arts degree or a science degree.
Well, that's what it originally was.
It
wasn't
was
it? Everything
originally.
was an arts
in the
degree.
British system,
Yeah.
it's very much an arts degree. And so I did that. Then I did an honours degree in river systems, river processes, particularly catastrophic river systems.
And this is in Australia?
This was in Australia.
So you're
Yes.
fair dinkum Oz?
Absolutely, born, bred. In fact, I think I come out of the First Fleet at some way.
You can trace your
I can go all the way.
history back to men of strong conviction, as they say. Yes. Okay, so you've got your master's degree in catastrophic flooding processes? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. It was how catastrophic floods could really change the landscape.
Okay, and by catastrophic they meant sort of the floods we have today, like the 2011 Brisbane floods? Or?
Yes, large floods like that. Mind you, as an Australian, we don't realise how big floods are in this country. What we take to be a 100-year flood in Australia it would be more than 1,000-year elsewhere. Our climate, our environment is extremely volatile compared to other countries.
Okay, so you have your master's degree. Where do you move from then?
I went on to do a PhD straight after that, and that I moved more into the environmental sciences. In other words, how does how do human processes interact with natural processes? And so my original work in PhD was particularly urban systems, because again, urban systems create accelerated flooding, accelerated sedimentation, all those extreme erosion, absolutely. All of those extreme events are, in a sense, magnified over and above nature in an urban area.
Okay, so you really could have a man-centred geologic strata.
Absolutely, yes,
okay.
yes.
So having got your PhD, did you determine then to become an academic, or you just always wanted to be a scientist?
I guess in one sense I positioned myself out of the rest of the workforce. In those days a PhD meant you were going to be an academic, not like today. And so I was not opposed to that. I was quite excited about being an academic because it was an opportunity to travel the world. I love research, particularly after the PhD. I wanted to research natural processes, I wanted to research catastrophic processes, and particularly how humans relate to those sort of environments.
Okay, now just change track a little. By the end of this program, you're going to have an interesting story or exciting account, because you've told it to me, right? So I know what's coming up in advance, about where you stand now in relationship to God, the Creator. But you had no relationship in the beginning.
No, I actually came from a dysfunctional family, and so the last thing I needed was another father. not to, I love my father natural, but the dysfunctional family set me on an anti-God process, if you like.
Okay,
and
so you didn't have a churchy background?
I went into churches on occasion simply because of relationships. Or distant friends, or
you mean marriage, deaths,
yes,
baptisms.
Those sorts of things. Yeah, I did stick around at times, but I always fled because I didn't particularly want to know this Father God, and I particularly didn't need His forgiveness.
Okay,
and,
so you had a concept that there was a God, but you didn't want anything to do with this God.
Absolutely, wanted nothing to do with Him. Okay.
So in your studies of catastrophic river processes, how strongly did the theory of evolution feature on you as a PhD student?
In those days, it was taken as a granted. It was taught as fact, and I accepted it as fact in those early days. And my PhD didn't really touch on that because in those days, I was looking at contemporary processes.